Hello, everybody. Welcome to my speech where I'll introduce to you the ultimate transformational formula for implementing SAFe 5.0 and achieving business agility. I have been in transformational work for about 25 years now, and I have recently been involved in an organization that is extremely high-tech. So this is how I got inspired to come up with a formula for a transformation to business agility. As I ran into some explanational problems with the people that I actually met over at my latest opportunity, which was a 2-year engagement transforming a 10,000 people organization that was in product development. So before I start, I would like to share with you that when I was in high school, typically I would have people in my class that would always pass the exams with A++ grades. And typically this happened in the math classes. And you may have also had these people in your class when you were in high school, or even you were one of them yourselves. And they never had to study. They never had to really work to get their high grades because they simply were so intelligent that they immediately understood everything, and that's it. While as I typically had to study hard and practice and then could pass barely. And when I was young, sitting in these classes, I always wondered about these classmates, where they would end up and what they would be doing once they grew up. So now I know, because this organization that I have been involved with for the past 2 years is a typical hub for these type of people. And you imagine a group of people that typically has multiple PhDs, many of them in math and physics, and these people have the different ways of communicating between and amongst themselves. So this is how I got inspired, and when I first entered the organization, like every consultant that is doing SAFe transformation, I started explaining about these concepts. And in the consulting world, we of course then talk about the why, the what, and the how. So if we talk about the why, I started to tell stories from the Nick Kirsten's body of knowledge. I'm sure you've all read the book, and he typically explains why in today's world there's no escaping. If you want to be competitive, you have to be ready to thrive in the digital age, and make sure you have the capabilities to do that. I also started explaining about what we needed to do actually to achieve that and to reach that capability. And of course, this is where the big picture comes in and the SAFe framework and all of that. And I also started explaining how we could achieve that and how we could actually manage to get the change effective with the stuff that John Cotter actually teaches us in his book Leading Change, but also in his latest book, the Accelerate book, which I'm sure you've heard of too, or maybe you have studied it even at this point. And all these people, they were starting to look me in the face like, yeah, okay, you're using a lot of words. I wasn't really getting across, and I wasn't really becoming effective at it. When you just feel that there must be a more effective way of communicating to this specific group of people who are highly intelligent, so they definitely should be capable of understanding what I'm saying, but maybe I'm speaking the wrong language to them, right? So, and then I started thinking, throughout my career, I have learned that you actually need to speak the language of your customer, right? So depending on the context, use different wording, use different language. And I thought, well, what would be the most effective language for this typical group of people? And I had an idea. All of a sudden, the light went on, and I said, okay, we need to talk math here. We need to talk math. So I started thinking back of what math actually was. And I already told you I'm not really typically extremely good in that, but I started rehearsing, right? So I said, okay, there's this concept of an organization, which typically is in this state of what we call, and I'm going to highlight it over here, waterfall or ad hoc agile. And it is typically a XL organization. It's large. It has around 10,000 people. They're all in the same area of product development, high tech, extremely high tech. So we are in a state of waterfall and or ad hoc agile, and we are big. And we want to move actually to this state of becoming business agile. Business agility, the holy grail, if you like, that's where we want to end up. And we want to do that by adding SAFe. SAFe 5.0 to its full extent and everything it has to offer. So, problem solved, right? This is what we need to do. Here's my formula for achieving the change. Now, some of you may think, okay, then it's done now, but actually it's not, because of course, when we practice math, we have to start to decompose this formula into the components and what it actually means. So I started to come to this realization that actually when we talk about an XL organization, a big organization, we typically talk about a matrix organization. And the mathematical way of describing a matrix is actually multiplying two arrays. And in every bigger organization, and I'm sure you will recognize this, you typically find two arrays present, which are first of all an array of departments, department 1, 2, 3 through department X. And you also find typically business units or business lines, and there are also multiple of them. So if we multiply these, we typically define the matrix which forms the XL organization. And then if we start to decompose what SAFe actually is, if we look up the definition, it's this collection of best practices and things that work and all from the domains of lean, agile, and DevOps. And we do that actually to the power of 3. So that's what we see here. The power of 3 of doing lean, agile, and DevOps is forming the layers of what we actually do in implementing SAFe. Because we have the team level, we have the teams of team level, and we have the large solution level. And with this executional machine that we are building in the network, we typically are trying to execute on strategic themes. So the strategic themes are on the top here. And they actually explain to us what we're trying to achieve for the organization, the strategic goals. And we do that by implementing the agile way of working to the power of 3. And if we do that, we actually are establishing these core competencies that we all know from the framework, which are the lean, agile leadership, the continuous learning culture, the team and technical agility, the agile product development, enterprise solution development, lean portfolio management, and organizational agility. And that actually is multiplied in our way of thinking in doing SAFe by the value streams. The value streams are just another way of defining the large organization. So having these core competencies multiplied by the value streams is what defines our new organization in the business agile state. And this formula actually proved to be extremely effective in communicating with these people who understand math like no other people. I mean, they are actually challenging the laws of physics by applying all kinds of mathematical models to building products that will enable the bigger organizations in this world, I mean the Intels, the Samsungs, to build their products that we use every day. So here's my formula for implementing SAFe and moving from a waterfall or ad hoc agile organization to a business agile organization. This was like a eureka moment, because at the same time I also realized that we all see this currently and throughout this seminar in a different way as well, because we will typically see the most modern way of looking at it is to have a network and a hierarchy that work together to create business agility. What John Kotter calls the dual operating system, that is comprised of these principles, the 5 principles. And you see that in my first array here on this slide, which is many people from everywhere should be gathered to run the initiative. We need to have this get to versus the have to mentality with all these people. Taking action in not only a head-driven but also a heart-driven way. We need much more leadership and not so much management or only management. And of course, we need the inseparable partnership between the network and the hierarchy. So these are the 5 principles that form the first array, and just another representation of the same formula that I showed you before. And then, of course, in the book of John Kotter, Accelerate, you will also find the accelerators themselves. So the principles multiplied by the accelerators, which are the sense of urgency for the big opportunity, obviously, building and evolving the guiding coalition, having a changed vision and a strategic initiative going on, enlist a volunteer army, as John calls that, enable the action by removing barriers, big, wide action in the organization, generate and celebrate short-term wins, and of course then sustain the acceleration and institute the change. So these accelerators multiplied by the principles are actually also bringing us to this same outcome here, which is again the large organization in the state of business agility. So the 2 pictures together actually form a true compact way. In fact, it's the most compact way that I have ever seen to describe what is really happening when we are engaging in a transformational journey for a large organization. And I thought this was interesting enough to share with you here during the conference, as I was stimulated to do so when I showed this to a few colleagues at Scaled Agile. They said, oh my God, you need to tell the story at the conference. So that's why I actually brought this speech to you. It's a little on the lighter side, maybe. Of course, it's funny at the same time, but also there is quite some truth in it. And I hope you can use it to your advantage whenever there is a possibility. Thank you very much for taking this presentation, and I hope to see you again in Scaled Agile or at the next conference.